In this video, I'm going to go over my 2025 internet setup in my RV. Hi guys, this is Andy from Mobile Must Have. If you're new to this channel or this is the first video you've clicked on, we are a mobile internet provider designed for RVs. We've been doing this since 2018. We've been on the road for longer than that overall, and super excited that you're here. Mobile Must Have was kind of started in 2015 when our founder Eric went on a RV journey. He went full-time in his RV. He has a big Class A, and realized how hard it was to get connected. Since then, the internet has changed a ton with the release of 5G and Starlink. So every once in a while, we come back on and we do, what does our internet look like in our personal RVs? As owners and as people involved at Mobile Must Have, you guys should know what our internet looks like. Now, we're doing a lot of different things at times, testing different things and all that, but I wanted to show you basically what the core internet structure is in the RV I have that I travel with every day. Now, I have a 2019 Keystone Fusion. I bought it new years ago, and it has been a great unit for our family. But recently, there's been new Peplink drops over the last couple years, new antennas that have dropped. So I wanted to show you what I'm currently running in my daily setup to run this channel, to run all the work we do at Mobile Must Have, plus all my personal stuff like homeschooling, streaming, everything we do on the road. Now, again, we are full-time. I personally have been on the road since 2018. And so we are going on 7 years living in our RV. So this is what our internet setup looks like. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is kind of the general rules or goals I had for the system when creating it. Now, these haven't really changed since 2018. The ways I've accomplished them are, but my three main things I focused on was general flexibility. No matter where I go, I want to be able to connect to the internet. Each place has different requirements, different services, everything changes when you move around. So it needed to be flexible and able to kind of work with us on that. I also wanted it to be very simple. I didn't want it to take a long time or take really any time to set up. I just wanted it to work no matter where we are. If we're in a truck stop, stopping for lunch, and I want to take a meeting, if we are pulling in overnight and I want to watch a movie, I didn't want to have to do a bunch to get the internet working. I also, and my third thing, is didn't want to be managing the internet full time and being like this big family IT guy. It's just, I didn't want to have to, I just wanted it to work for everybody. And I've got toddlers to teens and Kristen working in the RV. So it just needed to kind of work for everybody and just be very simple to use. So those were my goals going into it. So out of those three main goals, I want to talk about flexibility first. What we've gone with is a Peplink system, and Peplinks are amazing, and it's the main thing we sell at Mobile Must Have because they're so good at what they do, and that is flexibility for the internet. A Peplink is designed to get you online in multiple ways. So with a Peplink, what I like about it is its flexibility. It allows me to connect to a cell tower with 4G, 5G. It allows me to connect to a public Wi-Fi source. It's called Wi-Fi as WAN on their networks, and that would be like a campground Wi-Fi. If, let's say, you're out of range of a cell phone tower and you can't get it connected, you can probably connect to a campground Wi-Fi source and be online that way. That has absolutely saved me multiple times. So it's been a great feature to have, and something I'll show you today. I'm actually connected to it now to show you in this particular video. It also allows you and has built-in Starlink integration. So you can connect to, now you're talking cell phone towers, you're talking satellite, and then local Wi-Fi. That's the flexibility. You can connect to multiple different sources depending on where you are. For example, if you park under a tree because you camp through Michigan or some of the northern spots in the summer, Starlink is going to work for you. Cell phones might be great, or cell service might be great. Sometimes you're so remote that maybe you're under a tree and there's no cell service, but there's a campground. I particularly went through this in Crater Lake. The only thing I could get was Wi-Fi from the campground, and that worked great. I had 100 megs down connection. I was able to work there for a week, and ironically, that was the only way we were able to get connected. The Peplink allowed us to do that without doing anything. So now I'm going to go into the second part of my goals, which is simplicity. Simplicity to me means I don't have to touch anything. I don't want to be setting anything up when I get to camp. I don't want to have to rely on me doing something, plugging something in for everything to come online. My RV is online all the time. Whether I'm traveling, whether I'm plugged in, whether I'm not plugged in, whether we're in motion, not in motion, truck stop, campground, it doesn't matter. It is always online. I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed by this particular setup setup and what we're talking about. This is designed for you and me. You don't need to be a network engineer. I'm not a network engineer. I have to rely on people in Mobile Must Have to set up anything complicated on our back end. That's not my specialty. I was just a full-time RVer that came in and started doing videos for Mobile Must Have. So my setup is done by me, but don't think I'm any sort of big fancy network engineer like Eric was. Eric is a great network engineer, and that's how he's kind of designed a lot of our backend systems. But for most people, you can set this up. This is really as simple as buying a Peplink unit, putting the antenna you want on it, and plugging it into a power source. It's not more complicated than that. For the hardware here, as I've been saying, this is all based around a Peplink. The main Peplink I am using is a Peplink BR2 Pro. This unit is awesome. Mobile Must Have was actually a part of designing this particular unit with Peplink, so it is absolutely everything we love about a unit. It is a dual 5G modem. It has Wi-Fi as WAN, 2 WAN ports, so you could plug in, like, let's say 2 Starlinks, and has 4 LAN ports. So what's great about it is you might not need any additional accessories I'll show, because this can run just about any additional plugs or hardwiring you want. It has upgraded processors in it, so it can run a lot of things at the same time. This is a beast of a unit. Now, there is a price tag to it. At this time of recording, it is $28.99, so it's pricey, but it's dual 5G, and the dual 5G is really where that price tag is coming in. It is an awesome unit, and if you are really serious about getting connected, dual 5G with all of the extra WAN ports for Starlink and stuff, this is the way to go. The core system is going to be this BR2 Pro. It's awesome, and what I have it done is I also have it linked to a BR1 Mini 5G. This I've done to give me 3 5G connections. So at any point in time, I've got basically 3 cell networks connected, just to so I can connect to Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile all at the same time if I wanted to. What I did specifically with this B1 Mini, I like this one. There's no Wi-Fi on it. I don't need Wi-Fi. It is done, it's daisy chained to the BR2. So the BR2 controls it completely. I don't need Wi-Fi on this. It is literally just going to be a unit with a cell phone modem in it. And that's exactly what I needed. It's really inexpensive. I think it's like $4.99. So for a 5G modem, that's a great price. If you wanted to go with like a 4G modem, because you just wanted 4 modems, you didn't need the 5G, you can go even more inexpensive on those. I think it's like $300-ish on those. So a definite option. Now, off of all of this, I do have a Starlink High Performance connected directly into the Peplink. I don't have a router for it. I don't need a router. Peplink is the router. So I just have the power unit for the Starlink on the roof, and that goes basically direct injected into the Peplink. So that gives me now 4 active connections, and those are active all the time. I never turn those off. Those are kind of going to be my 4 core ones that are there all the time. Now, I have for this particular demo shown what you can do with a Starlink Roam. So this is like my Gen 3 unit. You can see that there. I have that connected. This one is portable. I have specifically left this one portable. This could be a mini. This could be your regular Starlink. This is the second Starlink connection I've got. And this one now can be portable because I have parked under trees tons of times. I like shade. I'm from Texas. We know if you don't park in the shade, you can boil in your RV. So shade is critical for us, especially in the summer. So we park a lot of times in the shade, but that can block your Starlink connection. If I ever needed to, I could run this one out and pop it in. So I'm showing that one really here as a demo. We're doing a lot of Starlink testing too, so that's why I have this unit. But really, for my day-to-day, I'm using the high performance, especially in a campground like this. You can see there's no trees around us, so that's our main source of connection. Also, for this demo's sake, I did connect to the campground Wi-Fi that they provide here. In this case, it's called Go Away, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so you can see that 6th connection there is basically over a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It does support 2.4 gigahertz as well, and that would be another source. Having Wi-Fi as WAN, as they call it in the Peplink space, a great option, and has absolutely kept me connected in certain places where Starlink doesn't work and cell phone service isn't working. The last section is around just kind of some general accessories I have plugged in. Everything now is kind of based on a 12-volt switch. So for this, I have a simple 12-volt switch. All this is doing for me is giving me additional ways to plug in things, is what we'll call it. So things that want internet via hardwire. And with this 12-volt switch, what it's also providing is power over Ethernet. If you don't know what that is or don't need it, don't worry about it. You don't have to necessarily go down this route. But there are some things like access points or cameras that might want power provided over the internet connection itself. That's what PoE is. So this switch is great because it allows me to run a standard 12-volt connection off a light or the wire I've put in there, and now give me 48 volts running to those particular systems. So now for an access point, I can just run the Ethernet cable and I can get more Wi-Fi range coverage, you call it, by just running an Ethernet cable. Things we see a lot, we have a lot of requests for that, so it's been a great product to have overall. So for me, what I've got, again, I'll pull up my diagram here, off of my switch is really just going to be an access point. One access point is using the PoE itself, and then I've plugged in my TV because it's all right there directly over Ethernet. I've plugged in, we have an Apple TV, we've plugged that in over Ethernet. And then our solar system, we have a Victron solar system. I've hardwired that directly in, so I didn't have to buy the whole Wi-Fi kit for that. So that was super easy to do. That's really what I'm using it for. And that's been really nice, but definitely something I didn't start with day one. That probably came in 2 or 3 years in as I was adding solar and stuff like that. I wanted more direct wire systems. Also, I didn't have the BR2 at that time, so I didn't have anything with LAN ports. So a switch was the only way to do that. The BR2 really solves that, and I didn't need it, but I already had it, so it was more of just a swap and replace for me. The last thing we can talk about with hardware will be antennas. Now, my antennas, like I said, I bought my rig in 2019, and I was working with antennas and well must-haves antennas back then. So I have a couple different things installed, but I'll tell you specifically what I recommend and what I've been moving to. The key antenna that I would like to highlight for everything is going to be the Parsec Great Pyrenees. That is an 11-in-1 antenna. It looks just like the Parsec Husky. If you've followed our channel for a while, it's the same form factor. And that has basically 11 antennas built into this box, super compact, very easy to use, and lots of different install types. I personally have the magnetic one installed on here because I figured I'd be changing out antennas and testing them. I haven't ever needed to because nothing better than this antenna has come up. But it's allowed it to be very flexible. So this is the 11-in-1 Great Pyrenees, and that drops directly into my BR2. Why do you need an 11-in-1 antenna? Well, for 5G, each modem needs 4 antennas. I have dual 5G, so that gives me 8 antennas there. I have 2 Wi-Fi antennas for the Peplink. It wants as dual Wi-Fi. And then the last one, the 11th, is going to be GPS. So you can connect that. The Peplink has GPS built in, so you can track literally where your unit is, kind of like LoJack used to be. I don't know newer models of that, but you can literally see where your unit is. As long as the Peplink has power and is connected to the antenna, you can see where it is. It's been pretty cool. So that's the main antenna. Now I do have the mini 5G. Now I have this old pointing antenna that is technically a 4G antenna, but I've been testing it on 5G and it's worked rather well. But I also, for testing and other things, have this inside mounted antenna called the Parsec Akita. And it's mounted inside. No holes were drilled to get this working. You can see it's inside my upper kitchen cabinet. It's ironically mounted directly above all the Peplink stuff, so I mean it's super easy to just kind of drop the cables down, and it's been great. It actually works about just as well as all the roof-mounted ones because it's up so high, but it's inside. So if you're looking to not necessarily drill a hole inside, Parsec Akita can be a great option. This is me literally testing equipment as we're traveling, and it has been working phenomenal for me and something we would recommend. All right, so that's your core system. Here's your Peplinks. They're connected directly to antennas on the roof. That gives you really, really good coverage. I will have 5 bars coverage on my Peplink and 0 bars on my phone. These antennas are super good at what they do, and that's why we've partnered with Parsec, because these are worth every dollar if you're trying to stay connected over cell. They work great with 5G. They work great with all the new 5G bands. These are where to go. And they're connected directly to the Peplinks, which then kind of are the brains of the entire system. They're the ones giving all my devices Wi-Fi and keeping me connected based on what's available in the area. Now, the last thing is going to be about power. In an RV, there's 2 types of power. There's 12-volt power and there's AC power, DC and AC power. All of this can run on DC power, and that is our recommendation overall. And almost everything in my cabinet is running on DC power. It just runs right off the battery. There's no conversion, so there's a lot less energy loss. It's just a really simple way to go. If you have an inverter and you don't want to worry about running extra wires or DC powers, that's no problem too. All of this has AC power that's included with it when it ships. So it's very, very flexible on a power situation. Although I do say it is worth running DC if you can. I think it just simplifies it and actually lowers your power consumption, especially if you're boondocking and that's something that's important to you. Super simple. Starlink can also run on DC power. We just launched a whole DC power kind of conversion for your Gen 3, for your high performance, for Starlink minis. So that's an option. I have yet to convert mine over because it's not really hindering me with my inverter, but something you can look at doing. As this cabinet has evolved, I wanted to run a couple more things like this Apple server and the Apple TV and a couple other things were all plugged in here, and I needed AC power, so I eventually ran AC power. And you'll see this the circle is our Aquara alarm system, and it does a lot of smart plugs and other things, so it's just kind of like a smart home hub for us. I needed AC power, and since I had it here, it was a great place to plug it in. But everything can be run on DC now, which is an awesome option to have. All right, this is a picture of the dashboard. This is giving you a high-level overview of your connections overall, what's working. You can see connection strength overall. You can see what's online. You can see your priorities, how things are connected, what service they're connected to. You get a lot of information off this. But this is your Peplink connection, your back-end door per se. So any changes you wanted to make to the system would be done here. I will say, disclaimer, don't mess with anything unless you know what you're messing with. You can also put yourself offline by toggling the wrong switch. This is, you have full access if you've purchased your Peplink, so there's no real guardrails or barriers. We have lots of guides on how to do certain things, what buttons to click, what things should look like. So if you're trying to do something particular, look those up or ask us in support. But I will say, I have gone into people's routers and they're like, well, I was trying to do this, and they haven't had internet for 3 days because they messed with something. But on the front side, you can't really mess with too much on the dashboard. This is giving you a high level of what's connected. So on the top, I've got my Starlink high performance. You can see that's a WAN connection, so it's a physical plug-in. And this is certified to work with Starlink. So you get the logo right here when you connect one of those dishes, and you can see that there. I have my 2 cell connections here. These are my 5G ones built into the BR2. This one's on Roamlink, and you can see Roamlink's connected via T-Mobile tower right now. And then cell 2 is going to be over T-Mobile. AT&T. And you can see that there, and it's connected not over 5G, but LTE advanced is what that means. And then I've got my third one here. That's going to be over the BR1 Mini 5G. So that's my third 5G connection, and that one's also over Roamlink and connected to T-Mobile. So that's great. I do have other options down here, which I've moved into priority 2. So they're not active connections, but I can show you just by dragging and dropping. It puts them back into priority 1, and these will now be part of our active connection sources. So that's going to be the campground Wi-Fi. Go away, lovely name. And I've connected it over 5 gigahertz. To connect to any of the Wi-Fi sources, you click here and you can see all the different Wi-Fis available in that location. So that's how it connected to that one. And then my Gen 3 Starlink, that's just kind of, I can move around, is connected. That one's connected there too. So now I've got 6 active connections. And if I don't want something to be connected, like let's say I don't want AT&T, it's slow or whatever, I can move that down, and that goes now into a backup. I also typically will do that for campground Wi-Fi. I don't typically need it, but I like having it as a backup. And I don't want to blast their network. I have my own. It's typically better. So I'll put that into priority 2. Just kind of show that. You can also see your Wi-Fi names, make sure they're online. It's dual band Wi-Fi, so you got 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi with Peplink. That's been great. If you're using Speed Fusion, you can see those are connected. And if you have the GPS connected too, you can see where that is. And I will say, I'm leaving this up because I'm not here. I'm not here anymore, so don't come to this address to find us. We've moved on. You'll see, we're going to move in the next section of this video. We'll show you what that looks like in motion. And then you can even see too, like how long your Peplink's been online, what firmware it's on. This is important to know if you're troubleshooting something. You can see, or if you feel your internet is slow for some reason, is something using it all up? Is there a download happening somewhere? You can see kind of your active throughput of what's happening. Now I wanted to talk quickly and kind of show my Wi-Fi setup. So I've got 3 main networks that have worked really well for us. I've got the Wild Ones roaming network. That's my general default network. That's what TVs are connected to for streaming. That's what smart home stuff is. My phone is typically connected to that one. And that's just going to find one of those active connections and link out to it and use that kind of one-off. Great for streaming because that's what streaming networks are going to kind of require. Little Ones roaming, that is designated for the kids' devices in school. I've got different parameters on that. I can deprioritize their traffic if I want to. I find a lot of advantages to kind of putting their traffic in a safer spot. And so that's kind of how I have that. And then the last one is most important though, is the working network. This is what I have running on SpeedFusion. SpeedFusion is where I can bond all things together and make it a redundant network. I have found if I'm just using Starlink, for example, over Zoom, it'll be skippy or people will pause and then it'll like catch them up really fast. That's because Starlink is literally dropping packets. It's dropping part of your connection, and then as another satellite's coming in range, it's catching up again. And so when it changes satellites, you get that kind of dropout. You don't do that when you use SpeedFusion, and that's because it's sending message over Starlink. It's sending it over 5G. It is sending it over campground Wi-Fi if that's connected. And so it's using all of those to give you a really, really consistent connection, and it is night and day on Zoom and really important things like that. So I only put working traffic through it. You do typically pay, depending on how you have it set up, if you're using like the Peplink service, you do pay per terabyte of usage. It's $40 if you go through Peplink for it. It's a great service, but I want to not pay for streaming, and there's no advantage to pay for streaming to go through it. So that's why working is set up for that. Just to give you a quick demo of kind of what that looks like too. If you go to like status and SpeedFusion, when you have it set up, you can go and see all of your active connections that are using SpeedFusion. So right now I've got high performance on here, I've got Cell 1, and I've got campground Wi-Fi. Like for those reasons are selected. And on our dashboard, we purposely put the second 5G connection that was on AT&T into priority 2. So that's why it's showing orange here. It's in standby mode. It's in a lower priority. But if I just want to do a quick speed test and kind of see how everything's performing, that's this column here. I'm getting, it's jumping around maybe 30 on Starlink. I'm getting 140. That's pretty good. And I'm getting 50 down from the campground, 60 down. That's crazy. So overall, it's like a 300 megabyte connection. 200, 300, it's going to kind of jump around based on packets and stuff, but that's a really, really solid connection for us on download. We'll see as it settles. So overall, it's saying 117, but we were seeing spikes higher than that. But this is how I test networks. What I also like about this is giving me more realistic upload and download speeds. I find unrealistic expectations on speedtest.net. I know companies are going in there for that IP address and giving it like full throttle. So it looks like you're going to have a really fast connection, but as soon as you download things, it's only giving you like 30 megs, even though your download speed will be like a gig. So I like this because this is giving you a more realistic expectation than kind of a spoofed speed test on speedtest.net. But that's great. I'll even show you on speedtest.net though. What is our current connection speed? This is again going through the working networks. This is going through that connection speed. CloudPath kind of is just kind of the hosting service there. So overall, this is again a bonded connection. So it's going through all 4 of these active connections. We're getting 70 down. That is great for Zoom. That is great for anything working. Look, and the upload speed is crazy good too. So it's just looking at all these different paths and bonding all of that together. We can even do a single test. So if I switch my Wi-Fi network over to Wild Ones roaming, that's going to pick one of those connections in the top and go off that. So you can tell which one it connects. Okay, so just real quick demo, Wild Ones roaming. So it's going to pick one of these connections. It picked Starlink. And so if I wanted to just test one of those networks, that's how I do it. So my Starlink connection alone, if I went direct through Starlink that's what we were seeing on the speed test before, about 30 to 40 And that's typically what we see on I've sometimes seen it be 80 to 100, but if you're in an RV park and a lot of people have Starlink, there's just a lot of traffic that goes through it, so it's starting to get slow. Like we used to see with cell phone towers. But yeah, so it's a pretty solid connection. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to show you what the Roam Link speed test looks like just for kicks and giggles. Okay, so I switched everything. I just did a quick switch to make sure that Roam Link was selected. So I'm still on my regular connection. Roam Link Wild One's roaming, so it's not the bonded network. We can see it's Roam Link Wireless is the network I'm connected to. And let's just see what this speed test looks like. So 24 milliseconds, that's pretty great. Yeah, I mean, Roam Link's just so good. It's prioritized traffic on 5G. It's just going to be really solid speed. So that's much faster than we were seeing on Starlink. And that's also pretty consistent with what I'm seeing if you have a good 5G connection. Okay, so this is telling me that we're even having a busy tower. If your upload speed is matching your download speed on Cell, that means your download is it's saturated, meaning there's a lot of people in that tower, and it could be faster, but it's just busy. So that's your Roam Link data speeds in the same place as Starlink high performance. So Roam Link's been super solid, and that's why I love that plan. And that's why I was saying just look at Roam Link if you're looking at data plans right now. There's nothing better on it. All right, that's this section. So now we are actually tomorrow packing up and moving to Amarillo. From Dallas. So let's jump into the car and show you what it looks like while we're in motion, how this is all working for us on the dashboard and just kind of general speed tests. I wanted to give you a real life demo at this point. So we're going to snap to that. Okay. So it's been a few days. We are now in motion. We are sitting in somewhere very random on parts of North Texas and in the middle of a travel stop. So we are finishing up lunch and I turned on the TV and we have a TV streaming for the kids behind me. And I'll show you kind of what the internet looks like. So this is us literally in a travel stop, like a rest stop that's literally a parking lot. I literally didn't change anything. We just drove out. So the red one is going to be where the Starlink Roam was connected. It's not connected. And then I don't have campground Wi-Fi, so that's currently scanning looking for it. But you can see Starlink high performance, and the two main 5Gs are connected, and then that third 5G there is connected. So it just allows us to stay connected. So even while I'm traveling down the road, I still have 4 active connections keeping us online. All right, so we are making our progress out of Dallas to Amarillo, and I'm not going to pull up all the stats on my phone. That would be unsafe to do while driving, but we have some devices streaming in the background for the littles, keeping them busy on this, I don't know, I think it's going to be like a 6-hour drive through the state of Texas. So that's how we're using the internet while we drive. They're on Amazon like Fire tablets, so they're just kind of cheap Wi-Fi devices for the little kids. And the Wi-Fi works great in here, allowing them to stay busy while we make progress down the road. We'll do another speed test when we get to Amarillo and kind of show you how that looks. We'll probably do that tomorrow as we're going to roll in overnight. But yeah, we'll catch you when we land to our next destination. All right, so we've now moved to a new location, and I'll do a speed test here in a second. I haven't even done it for this particular location yet, but we've been here now 3 or 4 days. I didn't have to do anything to set up the internet here, so it'd be interesting to see what the speeds are. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about data plans in a bit more detail. We've gone over the hardware, so you've seen the antennas and the Peplink inside and kind of how that's all set up, and that can be really configured based on what your current setup is. But for plans, there's so many options out there. You can go at the highest level, you can go with a carrier direct plan. So that's gonna be a plan that goes direct to a carrier tower. You can get those through resellers, you can get those from carriers directly. This landscape is always changing, so it's hard to give you a specific example here because I can tell you in 6 months this section of this video is going to be outdated. But carrier direct plans, or you can go with third-party plans, or you can now go with something like Roam Link Wireless, which is an MVNO, which we'll talk about more in a second. So for me, I'm going to say the best resource around this is going to be rvmobileinternet.com. Their whole purpose And what they're really great at is giving you all the updated information around carriers and plans and new things in the mobile internet space. They have a whole section of their website designated to plans and updated information. So definitely check them out if you're looking for specific information right now about what to sign up for. But what I will say for me is we here at Mobile Must Have are really excited because we have launched Roamlink Wireless, which is a new wireless carrier. It's an MVNO, and it is designed specifically for us traveling, and it works as a multi-carrier network. If you want to learn more about Roamlink Wireless, we can go into all the details. I'll link that video here, but that is really the plan I am personally using. Of course, that's what I'm using, right? But it is, out of everything we've ever tested, by far the best cellular way to get connected, because you get access to every major carrier. It's about the same price as you can get any unlimited plan for, Starlink included, T-Mobile away included. It's $169 a month currently, and so there's just a lot of great reasons to go with Roamlink, and there's no real reasons to go with anyone else, especially when you're traveling around. So if I'm going into a dead zone that has no T-Mobile coverage, but it's got a Verizon tower, it's going to automatically switch to Verizon. If I'm going into someplace that only has T-Mobile band 71, because that's the band that can reach that distance and no other band can, no problem, it's going to pick up that band, as long as the hardware you have supports that particular band too. So Roamlink Wireless to me is a no-brainer, and it is absolutely what I would recommend to everybody traveling with, not just because we sell it, but because I've tested everything else, and we made this specifically because nothing else was as good. So Roamlink Wireless is the way to go. Now, for me, I have 3 modems, and you can be like, well, Andy, that's really expensive to have 3 modems at $169 plus your Starlink payment, and yes, but that's not what we're paying. So we just created a new plan that we're calling the multi-line plan. And what that is you get all the benefits of Roamlink Wireless, the multi-carrier aspect, but you can get it on multiple modems at the same time. So it's designed for one system, one hardware device, like a BR2, and then you can get a second modem online for this new price. So I will link that down below, but for now, just from a pricing example, so if you get 2 lines, you're just adding $80 for the second line. You're not adding a whole nother subscription to it. So it's a really great way to do that. And we have that configuration in 3 and in 4. So if you need 4 lines, if you're maybe like a business customer and you've got an MBX that has 4 modems built into that device, we have a plan that supports up to 4 modems on the same one. Of course, the price goes up for each modem you're bringing online. So if you're a digital nomad like me, you have that Transit Pro, you've got a BR2 and you're looking to get it online, this is a really great option for you. And then if you want to bundle Starlink with that for a third option, you can do like a $50 a month kind of backup service to it, which is a great option. That's what I have my Roam plan on. And you have lots of different ways to go about it. So for me, that's what I've got. I'm on my Roamlink Wireless, and then I have a Starlink plan, and that's all kind of what we're paying for in our coverage. And for us, internet is super important. If our internet goes down, I can't work, I can't make money. So I do feel that I need to spend a little bit of quality money in the space to get good, solid connections, so I don't have to worry about this or stress about it anytime else. All right, so now that we're in this new location, I just wanted to do a quick speed test. We've gone through all the details here before, so this is the same thing, but the connections here are going to be, I've got Starlink, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, so that's kind of fun that I've got actually all 3, really 4 carriers if you want to put Starlink in that category, available now, and we've got our speed test up. Now I'm still going through Speed Fusion on this particular one, because that's really what I use it off of and really what we test. But I'll click go on this one real quick. I haven't done this before, so this is happening live between you and me. And I think we were getting 70 down last time I tested this, so it's a little bit faster here, quite a bit faster here. It keeps going up. So that's great. So 140 down, 160, keeps going. So it's a really solid connection. I can do anything I need to. Uploading videos, downloading, Zoom calls. This is super stable. Remember, this is over 4 active lines now at the same time, so it's going to be very, very stable overall. So yeah, so that's what this service looks like here. You can see I don't have my mobile Starlink out, and I didn't connect to campground Wi-Fi because I typically don't. I just don't need to anymore. But that is the setup here. Now, I really appreciate you guys checking out this video. It's been long, but I wanted to go over all the details. As this topic, it just seems to be a little bit more complicated when you dive in. It's not really complicated overall, but I think a lot of people think internet in an RV. They don't even think that that's a problem. And then as they dive in, they realize, wow, there's a lot of choices, and wow, this is more expensive than I thought, and wow, there's a lot more options and technology, and I have to think about this instead of just calling a cable company. So I wanted to go into as much as I could in a decent sized video here. But if you have specific questions or want to learn more about a BR2 or a specific antenna or how SpeedFusion works, that's what our channel is all about. And we're going to be making more and more updated content on all of this. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you're interested, and leave a comment below if you have a specific question, and we can either point you to a video that already exists, or we're always making new videos too. So we would love to address that in maybe a future video. If you do have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. But if you want to have more specific questions about maybe your setup or something you're looking to do in your setup, email us directly, and we have a whole team here that's designed specifically to help you with those questions. You can reach them at info@mobilemusthave.com. I'll leave that down here too. Now you can also chat with an agent directly on mobilemusthave.com. So if you want more of a live interaction back and forth, jump onto chat. It goes right to a live agent, and you can talk to someone there too. I really appreciate you guys all staying to the end of the video, and I can't wait to see you all on the road this year. Bye.